Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you all for coming. I'm David Hunke, Director of Communications and Marketing for the City of Lafayette. Today, we will provide you with valuable information regarding the letter you received on the city's lead service line replacement program. On the agenda are various city employees that will cover all aspects of the program. We will answer all your questions at the end of the presentation, and before you leave, we have consent forms over here at this table for those of the homeowner signatures that are in areas 1, 2, or 3 that will provide the go-ahead to have your service line replaced. For those of you who need Hispanic interpreter session, we have room 104 available. And if there's anyone that needs that service, they can go ahead and leave right now, and we'll take them to room 104. Our presenters today will be Jackie Chosnick, City Attorney, Steve Moore, Superintendent of Lafayette Waterworks, and Andrew Gordon from Wessler Engineering. To kick things off, please welcome Mayor Tony Rosworski.
Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you, first of all, very much for being here today and taking your time. And I know many of you in the room, and we appreciate you being here. It's going to be really important for the city that we're able to get this information out to people. And it's always better when they hear it firsthand from us and they can ask questions. I've talked about it in the past, and I'll hit on it again. We really want you to get a hold of us. If you do have questions through this process, make sure you contact the city. There'll be lots of people talking about it. It's going to be on social media a lot, next door, but it's important that you get accurate information from us, and so we appreciate you taking the time to be here and any follow-up that might need to be done. We appreciate that if you just get a hold of us, and we promise we'll get you the information quickly. Just to talk a little bit about how we got to this point where we're at today. Lead was first regulated by the Lead and Copper Rule back in 1991 by the EPA, and in 2021 they began to make revisions to those rules, and in 2024 all those rules were finalized, and so that's what's brought us to this point today, and the mandate that we have to do this lead line replacement is throughout the whole United States. So it's something that's been a while in the making. It is important. I think it is important that we do this. It's a good program, but it is complicated, and there's going to be a lot to it. And I was mentioning to Roger there a little bit, I don't know if Jackie told me or somebody told me that they've already started tweaking the rules already a little bit, that they sent us and said, this is the rules, and now they've already started tweaking them a little bit. So we'll have to adjust as the EPA makes changes, but we will, and we will certainly keep you all informed as we go through this process. This will be a lengthy process. We think it will take about 10 years to complete, so that's the time that they give us to do it. If we get the funds coming in appropriately or a little quicker than we thought, we may be able to do it a little quicker than that, but 10 years is the window that EPA has given us to complete this project. As you're probably aware, lead service lines, we're talking that line that gets the water from the main to the meter and the meter into the house. So when we discuss lead service lines today, that's what we'll be discussing. Some people may have lead in their home, inside their home, in their actual plumbing or galvanized or some other materials. But when we talk about lead service line replacement program that we're doing today, it's to get that from the main to the meter and the meter up to inside your home. So it's not the piping all throughout your house, it's that service line, just so that we're clear on that today. So we conduct a lot of tests currently, and we will continue to do those, and I will touch base on those here in a little bit more and why that's important that we test now and what our testing shows and what we'll do in the future, because we do know that lead that gets into drinking water supplies can be dangerous and can have an ill effect on people's health. So just to let everybody know, and so everybody be comfortable. The Lafayette Water Works absolutely is focused on protecting the health and safety of everyone in our community, and we really do pride ourselves on delivering safe, reliable drinking water to every water customer. The Lafayette Water Works complies with every EPA and IDAM rules, regulation, and testing procedures that they have. We comply with all of those, and we've been doing that now for over 30 years, and we have never exceeded any of the limits from the EPA or IDAM in that 30-year period. Waterworks is required to test water in approximately 50 homes every 3 years to ensure it meets safety and quality standards, including checking for lead. And in all the past tests, there has been no lead detected in any of those homes that we checked, and there is no lead that's been detected in naturally occurring in Lafayette's water supply. So I do want you to know that, because when you hear about potential lead or lead service lines, that can be scary. It can raise concern, but I want you to know that we have been testing the plant, we test out in the homes, and we've never had a detectable limit of lead in any of those testing. The city of Lafayette has about 40,000 service lines, probably more maybe than people realized. Through the course of investigation from historical data and construction documents, doing what we call potholing or hydro excavation, looking at meter pits, from a variety of ways of gathering data, we have concluded, to the best of our ability, that we have about 3,200 lines, that we have about 3,200 lead service lines in Lafayette. That's not a terrible number. It's a little better than we thought. We thought that number with 40,000 total could be a little bit higher, but we really believe with our investigation, and we've done a thorough investigation, that there is about 3,200 that have been identified. Just to give you a little bit more history, lead service lines throughout the United States looks like sometime in the 80s. People stopped using that kind of in general throughout the country. It looks like in Lafayette, we were much earlier. It looks like about 1930, the 1930s and 1935, through construction documents, they stopped using lead in our community, which is, and not everybody, but for the most part. So that's very, very fortunate that the lead service lines in our community stopped a lot sooner than maybe in a lot of other places throughout the country. So that also helped us reduce this number, and we're hoping that that's correct. I mean, we know that we may find additional ones through investigations or people calling us to look, and it will adjust accordingly as that occurs. So, but that is the number that we'll be working with. And we conducted those investigations between February and October of 2024. So there's going to be a lot to this, right? We're going to have to get in people's homes. We're going to be in your yards. You're going to hear more about it. So that's the one thing I'd like to really stress today is the communication. Again, talking to us. We're going to talk to you. You're going to hear about how we're going to try to contact people and contact you and all the different things that we're going to do and how long this program will last and how long we have to continue to notify people. There's filters involved. So we would just ask for your patience and just open communication as we move through the project. So I did also want to add that we do add phosphates to our water, which does help with corrosion in pipes for the folks that might have lead pipes or even have lead pipes in their home. So we've been doing that for a long time. And so again, I'll reiterate that we've not had any tests with any detectable lead in our water. So with that, I'll turn it over to our city attorney, Jackie Chosnick, who will start with some timelines and some other information. Thank you.
As part of this project, we did divide the city up into 12 investigative areas to determine the lead service line. Phase 1 of our lead service line replacement program will focus on areas 1, 2, and 3, which you will see are highlighted in the map behind me. These areas are the oldest part of the city and qualified for additional grant funding and had the highest concentration of lead service lines within the city. There are an estimated 867 service lines that will be replaced in Phase 1. The city will replace as many of those 867 lines as we can with the funding that we currently have available, but we may not be able to get to all 867 in Phase 1. We anticipate that actual construction will start in the spring. The overall replacement of the lead service lines will take several years to reach all impacted residents, and our goal is to have all lead service lines replaced within 10 years. Notice will be provided to residents with each phase of the project as it moves forward if your particular home is in that phase of the project. The cost of this program is being paid for by the city. That is the cost of both the utility side and the customer side of the program. So there will be no cost to homeowners if your lead service line is replaced as part of the City of Lafayette's lead service line replacement program. We are funding Phase 1 of this project with a combination of grant and loan that we received through the State Revolving Fund. It consists of a $2.5 million grant that qualifies for disadvantaged communities, and we also received a $2.5 million zero-interest loan. So we have approximately $5 million of funding for Phase 1 of this project. We are estimating that it will cost about $40 million to replace all 3,200 lead service lines within the city. We will continue to explore efforts to get 0% financing or grant funding to keep this project moving forward with the least cost possible. The initial notice was sent out if you've been identified as having a lead service line. That letter would have hit your mailbox earlier this week, over the weekend or earlier this week. That notification will continue to be sent out each year until a particular residence has had their lead service line replaced. And then if we do have a new service that is set up, we will provide that information to any new service users as well if their property has been identified with a lead service line. With that, I'm going to turn it over to our Waterworks Superintendent, Steve Moore, who is going to go into the more specific details of Phase 1 of this project.
Thank you, Jackie, Mayor. Thank all of you for being here today for this important project. Prior to each phase of the project, the City of Lafayette will solicit bids from qualified contractors. Each contractor will be required to have their employees' background checked, as they may need to enter your home, as the mayor had said earlier, to do some of these plumbing. And additional to that, licensed plumbers will be used to do the plumbing work that is completed and make sure that it's completed professionally and accurately. Authorization, by signing the right of entry authorization, you grant permission to the City of Lafayette Waterworks and its approved contractors and or subcontractors to access your property for the purpose of replacing your water service line. You also agree to inform and provide Waterworks of any hidden hazards on your property that could affect the work or provide unimpeded access to your interior water shutoff. For example, remove any items blocking the area such as boxes or furniture, and if necessary, cut away drywall to fully expose the valve, that shutoff valve on the inside of your property. The contractor will contact you to notify you of the date of the lead service line replacement about 2 weeks ahead of time. And on the day of the replacement, what you can expect is the city's contractor will replace the lead service line water pipe at your property. The workers will enter onto your property and into the residence if necessary to do the replacement. The replacement process will involve boring a new line underground, avoiding trenching whenever possible to minimize the disruption. In some cases, limited access to the resident's home may be required to ensure the service line is properly replaced. Any areas that are disturbed, such as sidewalks, landscaping, will be restored after the project is completed. Waterworks will try always to leave your property as close to how it was found or better. Waterworks also need to remove, if we need to remove fences, shrubs, sidewalks, driveways, stones, sod, flowers, plants, or other permanent things on your property, Waterworks will clean the exterior work areas and do temporary and permanent restoration, which may include, if impacted, replacing brick, concrete, granite, or asphalt curbs, sidewalk, pavement, driveways, and retaining wall, and overlay seating and sodding, and plant replacement. Waterworks may schedule the permanent restoration work at a different time. That would be in case of weather. Probably we would choose a more opportune time weather-wise to do that. And we will try to avoid trees, shrubs, and living plants whenever possible. Within 24 hours after any portion of the service line has been replaced, the resident and owner will receive education from us, the Waterworks, on flushing the water line properly. You will receive a water filter which lasts about 6 months, one of those like a Brita pitcher type of device. Additionally, if any changes occur in occupancy within 6 months of the replacement, the resident and the owner will receive this notification. Residents will receive information 3 to 6 months after the replacement regarding the opportunity for water sampling. Waterworks warrants the workmanship of the installation of the service line for a period of 12 months after the completion of the installation, with the Waterworks liability limited to the cost of repairing or replacing the customer service line. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Mayor Wazorski.
That's a lot of information, and there's actually a lot more information, so we want to let everybody know. You can go to the city's website, and there'll be a link to get you to information, along with some frequently asked questions that we thought people would ask, that the answers to will be on there. There's also an interactive map on there that you can put in your address and see if you are in fact one of the houses that have been affected and have been identified. There's phone numbers that you can call so we can answer questions. We're going to start with Steve. Steve's going to be that central point of contact at Waterworks, and then the rest of us will answer what we need to if there's something. But Steve's going to be that primary place of contact. And as Jackie said and Steve said, this is going to be complicated, right? It's not going to be easy. We're going to be in the yard. We don't know where that first point of shutoff is inside your house, or if you have a basement. So some people, it may be real easy, right? It may be right at the foundation wall and we just have to barely get inside. Some people have a basement, we can do that. Some people might be in your laundry room, behind the hot water heater or something, right? So we're going to have to be able to get in, work on that, get that tied into that first point of junction in there to that shut off. So it's not going to be easy. And as Steve said, we're going to try to directionally bore as many of these as we humanly can for the least disturbance possible. So, because trenching obviously tears up a lot more stuff. So we're going to try to directionally bore them as much as possible. That probably won't be possible on every single house, but that's what we're going to try to do. And as he indicated, we'll come back in, you'll get a filter from us, it'll be good for about 6 months, and we'll keep testing that water if you want us to. Even though we've replaced the lead service line, you might still have lead lines in your own home, and we'll make sure that nothing got stirred up and that everything is okay. So it's a very comprehensive program. It is put together well. There's a lot of safeguards in it to make sure that everything gets done properly that should be, to make everybody's drinking water safer and to give you even more peace of mind. But to get to that point, there are a lot of steps that are going to have to happen, and there will be some inconvenience. I also want to thank Amy Douglas, who is here with our utility billing. She has been tremendous help getting everybody's names together, all the contacts that we have, trying to text people, email, call, because like I said, we're going to have to be able to get in your house, and you might want to have to stay home, or maybe you'll let us be in there while you're gone. There's going to be a lot to coordinate, and so That's why we're having these meetings, ask people to work with us so we can get these done. Hopefully that money will stretch as far as possible and we'll get close to getting all 800 of them done. I'm not sure that we will because depending on what side of the street you live on and what side of the street the main's on. So if you're on this side of the street and the main's on that side of the street, the run's a lot shorter. For the people on that side of the street, we got to go way across the street to get to the house. So there's just a lot of different things involved to get this done. But we've got a good plan. We've put together a good team. Jackie and her team's done a wonderful job. The legal stuff getting us all to this point. Steve's ready to go. Our IT people, we've got the website up. Amy's ready. So we're going to get it kicked off. With that, we'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have. We are videoing this, and we videoed the first one. We'll have them up on the website, on our Facebook page. So if you want to watch it again to see what was said today, we're trying to be as transparent as possible with everybody. That's why I'm telling you the whole thing today. You know, it may be in your closet. Who knows where your water shut off is, right? So I don't want as few surprises for people as possible of what all it might take to accomplish this program and get these lines replaced. So with that, we'd be happy to answer anybody's questions. Roger.
Replacing the lines with copper or plastic?
Copper. Yeah.
Inside and outside the house?
Well, remember, we're only going inside the house or the edge of the house to the first, what's the technical, the first joint, the shut off. We're only going to there. So it will be copper to there. That's what we have been told, and Steve, jump in, that is, you can use PVC, but we've been told that copper is actually the best to use, correct? Yes. Well, that's what they recommend.
And there's also a lot of the lower homes, the electricity is grounded to that copper line, so you can't ground it to a plastic line. So for those two reasons, AWWA recommends copper as the #1 choice for delivery of water. Plus, it's a ground source for some of the older.
You replacing the valve?
The actual valve itself, I'll have to turn that one over to Steve or Andrew.
I don't believe so. If the valve's in good working order, we will just connect to it. And I think if there's no valve, some homes don't have a shut-off valve. So if there's no shut-off within 2 feet, I think, of the indoor of the home, then we would install a shut-off within 2 feet.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. What? Well, if you've been identified as someone with a lead service line and you're in this first area that we're doing, then we actually have the paperwork with us today that you can get started on, because yeah, we're going to need you to give us authorization to enter onto your property and do all of those things. So yes, there is paperwork that we have here today that you can start that process. I mean, that in itself is going to be a monumental task, just getting everybody to fill out the paperwork, I'm sure, and get turned back in. So, but yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I've got 2 questions. One, what's the point of having the filter after the installation? What's that filter for?
Yeah. Well, what the filter is for afterwards, if you may have, and maybe you don't, but if you do have lead service lines inside your home, and over time, it settles. And so when we shut the water off and we install all stuff and then we have you flush, you're going to stir up that sediment that's in your current lines in your home. And so the purpose of the filter is to, and it's good for, is to catch all of that. And Steve talked about it, and there'll be more information on how you flush, and then you put that filter and you catch all that. That is another safeguard to make sure if there is any residual lead from the pipes inside your home, that's taken care of when we turn the water, if it gets stirred back up. And that's why there also will be additional testing that's available for a while too. But that's the purpose of that filter.
And that second watching, I thought of another one. It might be boring or it might be trenching.
Yes.
There's a possibility that you wouldn't have to dig down.
Yes.
That you could just run it straight out.
Our hope and our first option will always be to trench if possible, because it's easier for us, it's less disturbing of your, I'm sorry, I said that backwards. Our first one is always going to be boring if possible. Yes, I'm sorry. I got it right the first time. It will be to do directional boring if we can. And if there are some mitigating factor that we can't, then we'll have to bore. But we're always going to try to trench. We're always going to try to bore first.
All right, the third thing I thought of is, what action should we take now? Should I go and get a lead testing kit to see how much lead I might have?
No.
Yeah, okay. Or should we be getting filters and stuff?
No, that's not necessary. We're going to do all the testing. We're currently testing. There's no reason, I mean, I'm not telling you you can if you want to something, but there's no reason for you to do. Yeah, well, she said.
I think I understood. Yeah, we do regular testing. So we do a group of 50 tests in the neighborhood that we know has lead service lines. We send those to an independent lab. Those samples are drawn directly from the faucet inside a home. First draw, and then they send that sample. We send it out, and all of the testing we've been doing since 1991, we've come back with less than 1 part per billion with a B of available lead in the water, which the EPA, if you look at the website, determines that to be non-detectable. So we've never had a detection of lead in our water because of the treatment that we do with the phosphates that we add and stuff. So no, it's not necessary to do. It is available to do. If you would like to have your water tested, we can do that. But it has been, the water's been treated and regularly tested, so.
Does the calcium deposits in pipe help too?
Well, that's something different. You know, the calcium deposit different from the lead. We're only talking about lead, so. And we do offer that consumer confidence report that's sent out once a year with your water bill. And also, that's always available on our website. There are contaminants available or present in the water, if you can see from looking at that report, but there's also a column that shows what the EPA has set those limits, and we're well below the limits on all of those things. So.
Thank you.
How do you know if your property, my property is in phase 1, and when I went on the website to identify it, it's orange dot, not red dot. What does that mean?
No, I'm not sure the difference between orange and red.
So Andrew Gordon with Wessler Engineering. That's a great question. So if you haven't been to the city's website, they have an interactive map that you can click on. And in areas 1, 2, and 3, there are, as this woman mentioned, there's orange dots and red dots on the legend. And initially, all of the dots in areas 1, 2, and 3 are orange. I'm speaking off the top of my head here. I think that's the case. As the project starts and construction begins, as the lines are replaced and your service line is completed, those dots will turn a different color. I think they'll turn, I think from red to orange, I think is what it is.
I think she's saying there's red and orange both on there now.
It is orange, okay. So then maybe it turns to red. It's gonna switch a color, and then it'll show that it'll go from like a pending status, meaning that it's waiting replacement, to a completed status. And then there's also a counter on there too to show you, how many service lines have been done over the course of time.
So orange means my home needs to have the replacement.
Correct. If you have a dot on your home that is orange, yes, that would be the case.
We'll check on that. If they're orange and red and that's confusing people, if they're different,
The red and the orange, on my phone when I looked, I couldn't tell the difference, but on the computer I could tell.
Right, so we have a computer set up over here that we're more than willing to, if you're curious and you want questions answered, we can run through that. All the dots in areas 1, 2, and 3 are orange, and they will change color as they are completed. Outside of those areas, there's other colored dots, and we can explain that if you have questions.
Maybe we've got different shades of orange. Look red. Well, that's why we're having these meetings too. That's a good point, right? We'll double check that. That's how you get things straightened out, figured out. So, yes, Roger, do you have another question?
Yeah, when you start replacing the mains that may be lead pipes, how long would you anticipate a neighborhood would be without water?
Well, we don't have to replace the mains. The mains are not lead, right? So we don't have to replace it. We're just replacing the service lines to the house. So we'll just be turning off people's water individually. Steve, correct me if I'm wrong. We're just turning off people's water individually.
A typical installation would last about 1 day. And not all of them are going to be typical, but typically it would be about 1 day. So you're going to have some water disruption for the better part of 1 day.
Yes, ma'am.
I was just going to address citizens' comment about the dots. My understanding, and I was also looking at it on my phone from the legend, is that the orange dots represent both the service line and the line the other way.
Yeah, well, there's just, yeah, so one, hear what she said. She said the legend said that the dot represents the two portions, from the main to the meter, and then from the meter to the house.
Right, and my understanding was orange meant both.
I think so, and
Okay, that's all right.
if you click on that dot, it brings up a little legend to the side, and it'll show lead on the city side, or lead on the customer side, or it may show lead on the city side, copper on the customer side, because some of these have already been replaced.
Yeah, I did
Yeah. Yeah.
I had another, just to clarify, if maybe I didn't hear this correctly, the city is also footing the bill for the customer side, is that correct?
Yes. Yes. Everything from the main to the meter is ours, and we're paying for that. From the meter to the house, we're paying for that to get into that first shut. That's all. Yeah, the project pays for all.
Okay. And when did you say construction begins?
Let's go back to the microphone.
Anticipated construction will be spring of 2025.
And just to clarify her other point, since we weren't talking to the mic and we're recording this, yes, it's all covered by this project, from the main to the meter, which is considered the city portion, and then from the meter to the house, which is typically considered the customer's portion. But for this project, that is all being paid for by the city.
Yeah, I took a look at the inventory map real quick just to check the colors, just so that everybody's clear. The colors are red, so all the dots are red. And it may vary from your home computer screen. It may look like that it's orange. It may look like it's a different color. It's supposed to be red. Red is the pending status, so when the service line is replaced, it'll turn to an orange color. The other colors on the map, there are green dots, there's blue dots, and there's yellow dots on there. Those are outside of the areas 1, 2, and 3. The green dots indicate that there are no lead. We did not find, or the city has no record of those properties having lead on the green dots. The yellow dots are the ones that have unknown status, that there's still some more investigations, maybe some entry into your home to verify, the other pieces to it. And then the blue dots, I believe, are the ones that are led outside of those areas that eventually the city will get to over that course of the 10 years.
I'm just kind of ignorant about where the meter is that not my water main? Is there another main somewhere else?
Well, the main runs down the street. It's the big pipe.
That's what you're talking about, not the little
It's
circle.
the big pipe that takes the water down the street, then your service lines come off of that
And
into
so
the,
into the meter, so it might be lead coming from that line to the meter and then also coming all the way to my house, those two.
exactly, yes. It can be lead coming off the main to the meter and lead coming from the meter to the house. It could be both. Some it's not both, and some has already been replaced. But yes, is it possible that it's both? Yes.
Right, and all the work they just got through doing at the junction, that was all drainage, right? That was water leaving. You know,
All the work they got done where?
they just dug up the streets, you know, and put in these big old pipes. That was just water going out. That wasn't water coming in, right?
Yes, that was a different department. That was our Renew department, and that's working on stormwater and combined sewers and stuff like that. That is not the water department. It has nothing to do with this project. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
If you combine lead from the meter to the house, if you're just going to leave that old pipe, I mean, if you bore it, you got to leave it. But if the only way to get it out is, of course,
Yeah,
back.
I'll let Steve answer that because that question's come up.
That line will remain buried, but it won't be connected to anything on either side. It'll just be buried underground.
You would think there could be contamination there, but that's,
Yeah. There is something on the EPA website about that. There was some questions about soil contamination. They're not dealing with anything like that, so there's no requirement for soil sampling or anything like that. We're doing this by their standards, so.
All right, well, if there are no more questions, thank you again very much for coming. Please contact us. As I said, don't sit home and stew about it, or if you're not sure, call us. As you can see, we're trying to be very transparent, and we will get you the answers that you need. So thank you, everybody. Again, if anybody wants to go ahead and get the paperwork started, we would really appreciate it. There's St. Lawrence, McAllister. This is where we're at right now.
Okay, so where's...
Oh, no, I'm sorry. There's McAllister Center right there. That's where we're at right now.
Okay, so I'm up here.
Yeah, they're modeling our